funky.
Cracking open a cold one with the boys, except I'm very much alone in this house, so yeah, hits woe. Hey guys, it's Julia, welcome back to my channel. This is not the video that I was supposed to be filming today, but inspiration struck and I wanted to film this. The working title that I have on my Google Doc is The Way We Were Collectively Conned by These Products, so we'll see if that sticks. Today's video, I thought it'd be fun to go back and look through some of the dumbest things that beauty YouTube has ever hyped up. A lot of which I've actually forgotten about, but I think it's interesting to go back through these, especially seeing that none of them have really stuck as like permanent things in people's routines. It was just like an instance of YouTube hype that got it super big, so thought we would go back down memory lane because 2017 beauty YouTube was just a fever dream. Most of these I brainstormed, a few of these were contributed by you guys on Twitter, but I hope you guys enjoy this video. Full details of this look should already be on Instagram. Dew Fairy of the Day is Miss Emmy Ryan. Thank you so much for having your notification bell on. In my brain, reading that just thought Debbie Ryan immediately, so I'm so sorry. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Hope you guys enjoy this, and without further ado, let's take our horse down the Old Town Road. Starting off with the product that basically inspired this entire video, the Stila Glitter and Glow eyeshadows. I'm still so mad that I bought these. I'm kind of a magpie, so I just get attracted to anything that's really, really beautiful and glittery, and I think the Stila Glitter and Glows were just such a unique product, and we didn't really have anything that was quite that foiled and that shimmery. Now, where we're at in the makeup community, we do have so many different products that replicate that kind of effect in powder form and liquid form that are a lot less expensive, but Stila really had us spending $24 for single shadows that dried out within 6 months.
I love robbery and fraud.
I think the Stila Glitter and Glows were like the original con. I can't believe they were $24. Honestly, I think that they should have been priced around $18. That just seems a lot more in line with Stila, and that's still too expensive for them because they dried out really, really quickly. But they were $24. I bought a full size, and I think I also bought like 6 of those minis for a lot more money than they should have been charging. So if you're wanting something kind of a similar concept, I've heard that the e.l.f. new glitter liquid eyeshadows are very, very similar formula and also packaging. I think the Huda Beauty new nude palette has some very similar like textured shimmers that give you a really similar appearance to what the Stila Glitter and Glows could give. I truly cannot believe that those were as expensive as they were given the quality and the longevity of the product, but Stila Glitter and Glows, we were duped. This next one, unlike the Stila Glitter and Glows, I never bought, but the original Beautyblenders. Beautyblender has become such a big part of the way that people do makeup to a point where people call all sponges Beauty Blenders. I think it's the same way that people call tissues Kleenex. It's just like that brand has become synchronous with the entire like sphere of products, which I think is a really big achievement for them. That being said, it's $20 for a piece of foam. Beautyblender sponges are good, but I don't think that they're the end-all be-all of sponges. I, for example, use the AOA Studio sponges. These are $1 each, and I feel like they're actually a lot better quality than the Real Techniques sponge. I've tweeted about like Beautyblender and their extortion business model before, and a lot of people have been like, I know it's stupid, but I buy them because I don't like the Real Techniques sponge. I think a couple years ago that would have been the case where like if you tried the Real Techniques sponge and you didn't like it, you were kind of stuck using the Beautyblender because a lot of other sponges just weren't that great, but I think that we have so many amazing options now. So AOA Studio Wonder Blender is my personal favorite that I use every day. ColourPop sponges are pretty good as well. Kaleido sponges, I use this today for my foundation. I do like these a lot as well, but lots of sponge options now. I feel like a lot of like bigger brands are coming out with their own beauty sponges and doing a pretty good job at it and not charging $20. Especially for a product that you do need to be throwing out continuously and replacing, I don't think that spending $20 on any type of tool, brush or sponge, is good. Farsali as a brand could fit in this entire video, but one product in particular really came to mind because it has no value as like a makeup product, but also no value as a skincare product, and that is their Farsali Unicorn Essence Serum thing.
Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
This came out right on the heels of their rose gold oil, which I also think was very overhyped and didn't have much value, but at least it had a little bit of like skincare product value in there, whereas the unicorn serum, truly nothing. Maybe it can give you like a little bit of hydration and act as a kind of quasi-hydrating primer, but I also think you don't need to spend a ton of money on something like that. For example, like the Laneige Glowy Makeup Serum, I feel like gives you kind of a similar effect to what the Farsali unicorn jizz is supposed to give you, but this does have a little bit of a tacky base to it, so I feel like it does actually grip down your makeup, whereas the Farsali thing didn't really do anything. I think this one again just speaks to the power of Instagram because everyone was using them for their like clickbaity dripping things on your face videos. I think it was just one of those products where some people at the top said that they liked it and then a bunch of other people kind of piggybacked on that opinion. Also, I think it's telling that we don't see the Farsali unicorn essence literally anywhere in anybody's videos. Number 4, this one might be a little bit more controversial because I do think it's a really beautiful palette. I just think it was incredibly overhyped for what it was, and if it came out today, nobody would care. And that is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. Everybody wanted this palette. I can see why. It's a really beautiful color scheme, very similar to the ColourPop Yes Please palette, so when that came out afterwards, I feel like everybody bought that palette. Whereas the ND palette, only people who were willing to spend $129 on that color scheme would like really shell out on it. I think Natasha's formula is very overpriced. It's not bad, but it's not like $129 great either. I've also since seen a lot of people decluttering the ND Sunset palette and also older Natasha Denona palettes because her formula does dry out. That's something I've really noticed, is that her formula doesn't really have a ton of longevity, which is not great considering that you get really, really big pans, which is one of the things that people like cite when they're trying to justify the prices of Natasha Denona shadows, is that you get really big, deep pans with a lot of product in them, which is all well and good, but you're not really going to get your money's worth out of the product if it's going bad in a short amount of time. So unless you're like a pro makeup artist and you're using that product on other people and getting a lot of use out of that palette, you're not going to get the full money's worth. I just remember when this came out, the hype around it being like, this is the best palette ever, this is 100% worth it. I don't really see looks being created with it on Instagram or on YouTube. I don't really see it being in anyone's favorites. I think people got excited about it and then it faded away. Next up, Too Faced several things, but most particularly their chocolate bar palettes and their sweet peach palette. I truly do not understand why the chocolate bar palettes were so hyped up. I got into YouTube around like 2016, 2017, so the chocolate bar palettes were already pretty around and old back then, but they were still like one of people's cult favorite hyped up products. I remember a lot of people really like the semi-sweet chocolate bar palette, the original chocolate palette as well, and then the sweet peach palette was huge. I remember that being sold out for like months after it came out. And as far as I know, these are permanent products in Too Faced line, so they're still available. But like the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, I really have not seen anybody using these or citing these in favorites videos. I have seen a lot of them being decluttered in declutter videos because I watch those a lot because they call me so much. I personally did not enjoy the formula in those palettes. I think Too Faced is very hit and miss with their eyeshadow formula. The Sweet Peach palette and the Just Peachy Mattes palette, two very different palettes, two very different formulas in my opinion. I really liked the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. Granted, I have decluttered it, but still. Too Faced sometimes does good formulas and sometimes does like the patchiest, not greatest shadows known to mankind. I think the last time I've seen chocolate bar palettes mentioned in a good context was the Too Faced, that chocolate gold palette with all the shimmers, but even then, that got rave reviews and I haven't seen that in a long time. It's interesting to me to see the kind of lack of longevity that those palettes had, even though those were really like classic neutral colors that I feel like would last a long time in people's collections. Modern Renaissance I still see talked about very often. Granted, it's my channel, I talk about it very often, so.
Sorry.
Next up in the list is Broad Swathe. I have a lot of just like kind of broad generalization categories on this list, but metallic liquid lipsticks in general, why? A lot of people were saying matte liquid lipsticks. I kind of disagree. I do have a few matte liquid lipsticks that I do really enjoy in my collection. For example, the Fenty Stunna lip paints, amazing. But metallic liquid lipsticks, I truly am puzzled as to why we went through that together. I owned a few different metallic liquid lipsticks, particularly the ones from Kylie Cosmetics, just because those were super hyped up. It's not even the metallic finish. I can get down to boogie with like a metallic kind of shimmery lip gloss. I'm wearing the Nabla Renaissance gloss on my lips right now, but metallic liquid lipsticks take the worst of both worlds, where it looks shimmery and unnatural on your lips as a shimmery product would. However, it also looks crusty and dry. I have one metallic lip left. It's a gold metallic liquid lip, and I'm saving it for like a very specific Halloween look I have in mind, but after that, I would never use a metallic liquid lip in my life. But I feel like there was a period where like every single big brand had them. This is the only product that I still have left. Hold on. Here we go.
Child. Anyway, so
I can't believe we all bought this palette. The fact that the Morphe 350 has 35 different shades in here when it could easily just have the exact same color scheme in probably 10 because there's so many repeat shades in here. Like, how many dark brown matte shades in here look exactly the same? I've swatched every single shade in this palette just to see how many overlapping shades, and I think I could easily call this down to like 12 shades and it would still be the same like color scheme. Honest to God, I don't hate this palette. I don't think that Morphe's 35 pan palettes are the worst formula ever. I also don't agree with the statement that many Morphe affiliates were saying that this was like the best formula ever at the time. I think the shadows are good for beginners. They're not incredibly pigmented to a point where they're going to be really difficult to work with. They're also really cheap for the amount of product that you're getting. It's a good beginner product. That being said, I think that this color scheme is incredibly inane. So I had this. I think the first ever makeup tutorial that I ever did on my channel was using this palette. Please, for the love of God, do not go watch it. Thank you. I was 16. 16 and embarrassing. So, was I 15? Oh my god. I might have been 15. Anyways, this palette, I haven't even thought about her in a long time. I still have it because I have it on my Poshmark, but yeah, decluttered a long time ago. It's still hanging out because nobody wants it. Nobody wants to buy it from me. Y'all, I cannot believe that Nikki Tutorials told us to put men's aftershave on our faces and we all just like did it. The Nivea men's aftershave as a primer. I remember that phase. I personally never bought it just because I couldn't find Nivea at my Target, which is weird because I have a really big Target in my town, but I fully would have. I was like about to buy it on Amazon because I was like, that sounds like a really good idea. I've heard that a lot of people got broken out by this. I think you would probably need really resilient skin, which I personally do not have, in order to do this for a hack. It probably works, just like ingredients wise. The ingredients in there seem to be very conducive to holding your makeup down for a long time, but I have nothing against this trend. I just think it was really funny. It takes me back to a time when everyone was putting aftershave on their face. People were recommending other crazy things to put on your face as primer, like milk of magnesia, a literal laxative, as well as I think like Monistat chafing gel. That was quite a time in our community. You will probably only remember this if you're a real OG, but the Ben Nye banana powder, this blew up because I think Mario Dedivanovic told everybody that he used it on Kim Kardashian to bake, and obviously that would be a product that would work for her because she has a pretty like tanned skin tone. I saw a lot of people who had like skin tones like mine using that product when it was darker than their actual skin tone, and then having like kind of darker like yellow under eyes as a result. Just in general, I think the makeup community has gotten a lot better about like understanding that's not all products are going to be for everybody. I remember when Huda Beauty came out with like a darker skin toned highlighter palette and people, Kristen Leon, were being like, oh my god, this is not going to work for white people. Yeah, not everything is for you. Example, the Ben Nye banana powder. I partially took part in this trend. I bought something that was pretty similar. It was a Makeup Revolution banana powder that was a little bit lighter than my actual skin tone, so it would work on me. But just in general, banana powders do tend to get a little bit darker on the skin when they come into contact with a like liquid product, just because of the interaction between the two textures. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not going to work on everybody, but it will work on people who have like medium to dark skin tones. I forgot about this one, but people on Twitter suggested it and I was like, oh my god. The Evian face mists, do you guys remember that? Literal water in spray bottles. Evian water for like $18 in tiny spray bottles in the Sephora checkout line. Incredible. I have nothing against a good, purposeless, somewhat overpriced skin mist. For example, the Farsali Rose Gold Mist. However, I'm not going to just pay for spring water in a spray bottle. I want some other ingredients in here, whether that's gold flakes, which is still pretty purposeless, but this still gives me some nice dew. Madness, love. Literally madness. Next up, two incredibly stupid different tools. Number one, silicone sponges. That was quite the era. Earlier this year, I tested a sponge from ColourPop that had a silicone interior to it. Can we stop trying to make this happen? But these little like kind of chicken cutlet looking sponges that you were supposed to kind of smear your foundation around your face with, and the idea was because it's not foam, it's not going to absorb any product, so basically you would get more coverage. However, the point of a sponge is to absorb excess product so that you don't have a ton of like foundation sitting on top of your face. So if you were to spend time like taking the silicone sponge and just kind of like patting your foundation onto your face, you could get like a nice even layer maybe after a long time. However, it would be sitting on top of your skin and not actually like melding in, so like a single touch would just smear everything. I feel like a lot of brands made their own silicone sponges and didn't really sell well, obviously, because it's a pretty stupid product. So from time to time I'll get like a PR package from a brand that includes a silicone sponge because I think they're just trying to get rid of their dead stock of silicone sponges. In a similar vein, fan brushes. I remember a time when everybody was using like those really skinny fan brushes to apply highlighter, particularly like very loose powder highlighters like this that were really, really bright. Fan brushes are great for getting a really precise like stripe of highlighter, but that's the thing. I don't know anybody who wants like a stripe of highlighter on their cheekbone. It's also just really, really difficult to control. Personally, I like having brushes kind of like this to do highlighter. This is the Nabla highlighter brush. Fan brushes I don't think are good for highlighter, but I also don't think they're good for anything else. They're one of those brushes I just think isn't really good for anything, and that's a trap that I've kind of fallen into. It's I'll get a brush set and I'll try and find a practical use for every single brush in that set because I don't want to waste anything in the set. However, I just think that there are some brush sets where it's like there are certain duds in the set, and you just kind of have to accept that, and that makes it a bad brush set. It's not your fault that you can't find a use for it. I would love to know if anybody has a purpose for fan brushes, but for me, I just haven't really found an application that I enjoy using them with. I also have yet to see magnetic lashes that work well. I guess if you like use them on a daily basis to a point where you have enough practice with them, they could work, but I don't think that they're any more useful or any less obvious than traditional strip lashes. And last but not least, I remember when everybody was talking about the Dior Airflash foundation, kind of similar in gimmick to like the Patrick Ta Major Glow Highlighting Mist, which you guys know I like, but it's really difficult to control this. And some people like even acknowledge that in their videos. They were like, yeah, I can't really use this one spraying it directly onto my face, as like the name implied. So some people were like spraying it onto their hand or spraying it onto their sponge or brush and then applying it, which I think wastes a ton of product. The only good thing that ever came out of the Dior Airflash foundation was Rob Beauty Christie's video with it, so that's all I have to say. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I definitely had a fun time going down memory lane. I'd love to know if you guys have any experience with any of these products, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed down below, following me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you made it to the very end of this video, you get the bonus meme. Love you.
Are you tired of people complaining about literally everything every day? Do you find yourself overly annoyed by the actions of others? Then you need fuck 'em all. When prescribed by your doctor, fuck 'em all can significantly reduce your ability to give a fuck.